What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So today I'm doing a little maintenance on my 2023 F350 wheel speed sensors. Now, as I'm sure many of you that have these Superduties, or at least the newer Superduties, the wheel speed sensors are very finicky. They're always setting off fault codes on your dash, such as service advanced track, tire pressure monitoring sensors not working, brake assist not working, all these different fault codes, right? 9 times out of 10, those fault codes are related to your wheel speed sensor not working properly. Now, when I first put my lift on my truck, I must have damaged my right front wheel speed sensor because I was getting all these codes and they were not going away. As soon as I tried to clear them, they popped right back. So I knew the wheel speed sensor was bad because I put a scanner up to the OBD2 port. It pulled up a code. It said it was a right front wheel speed sensor fault. So I ended up ordering a new wheel speed sensor and I replaced it. But occasionally when it's raining outside, or like today it's snowing outside and there's a lot of moisture in the air, I still get the fault codes. They come up, but within a couple hours of driving, they eventually go away on their own. So it's been driving me nuts and I'm trying to figure it out. But I started thinking, when I took the original wheel speed sensor out, there was some type of like a tacky grease, not around the sensor itself, but on the flat part of the housing. So I started thinking maybe that was there to help keep some of the moisture and possibly debris or possibly corrosion from happening under the sensor, because sometimes corrosion can happen and lift your sensor up even minutely to where it can throw off your sensor. So I ended up ripping apart my wheel and I ripped out the sensor. So let's take a closer look and I'll show you what I'm going to try to do. Okay, so here is the sensor here. I have my brake caliper just tied out of the way. Again, you have to take your wheel off, you have to take your caliper off, you have to take your rotor off over here, and right here is where your wheel speed sensor is screwed in. So I unbolted the wheel speed sensor and it had some type of grease all over the sensor, which is actually down in your hub over here. It's probably there from factory. But you really shouldn't have grease all over the sensor because the sensor is a magnetized sensor. And if you have grease all over it, it could actually mess around with the magnet, which could throw fault codes. Now, real quick, let me just say this to get it out of the way. I am not a professional mechanic. I'm just showing you what I'm trying to do to see if I can find the problem to why my sensors are so finicky. So I pulled the sensor out and it had like a yellow grease that was way down in there. You can kind of already see a little bit of the grease down in there a little bit. But I went down in there with some Q-tips like this, and I just gently cleaned out some of the grease down in that hole. And I took a rag and I wiped off the grease because it was all over this outer sensor here where my thumb is, okay? And then I took a little wire brush like this, and I just kind of cleaned up the surface area, made it as nice and smooth and clean as possible. Then what I'm going to try to do, I have some marine grease here. Okay, it's an extreme high performance grease, and it actually says down here it could be used for disc brakes and ABS applications. So I thought, being that this is kind of more marine grade, it would probably be good for exterior use in rough climates. So I'm going to try to put a little bit of this, not much, literally a dab of this on the faceplate right here, so that when I put the wheel speed sensor back in, the grease is actually creating a seal between this plate and the bottom up here on this part up here. And I'm hoping that that will help keep some moisture and debris and any type of air leakage from breaking that seal, which could possibly be causing some malfunctions to the sensor. So that's what I'm going to try to do. And then I'll drive it for a few days and I'll come back at the end of this video with an update whether it worked or not. Now, real quick, before you start messing with any wheel speed sensors, make sure you come up here and you disconnect both batteries. So again, on a Superduty, you have 2. Go ahead and disconnect the positive on both batteries, because when you start messing with sensors, if you leave the batteries connected, you could throw a fault code that gets saved into your computer, and that's a mess. So again, what I would recommend is disconnect your batteries, come down here, take your brake caliper off, take your rotor off, clean all this up really, really good. Make sure you wipe your sensor off. Be very careful with this sensor. Clean it all up. And then I'm going to go ahead and just rub a little bit of grease on the surface, not in the hole, just on the surface, so that again, when I screw the sensor back down, it creates a nice waterproof seal. So again, the purpose of me trying this is I've been dealing with these sensor fault codes on and off. They show up one day for an hour or two, and then after I shut the truck on and off a couple times that day, they disappear and it never comes back on for another couple days, and then it comes back on. It really depends on what's going on outside. I mean, we have a lot of snow out here right now. When it's really raining hard, it happens. So it's not all the time, but still it is happening on a regular basis. And then when you go on all the Superduty forums and all that, a lot of people complain about the same thing. Their wheel speed sensors keep faulting, and then it comes on and off and back and forth. Now again, first off, make sure you plug in a scanner to your OBD2 port and it's not picking up a faulty sensor, but you are picking up all these other warnings from like your advanced track and your rear brake assist and ABS, failure and all this stuff. They're probably just codes that are faulting because the sensor is not accurately reading the codes that it's meant to read. So again, I'm not a mechanic. I'm not saying this is going to work. It just makes sense to me that when I put the sensor on originally, I didn't grease anything on the surface to create a waterproof seal. And I'm wondering if I'm getting moisture in this sensor, and that could be what's still triggering these fault codes. I don't know, but I'm going to try. So let me go do this, and we'll be back in a few days, and we'll see how it turns out. Okay, so it is day 3, and again, we're still driving in really cold temperatures. As you can see on the dash, it's 18 degrees outside, it's snowing, the roads are wet, and again, day 3, and I still do not have any codes popping up on the dash. So again, as of right now, no issues on the dash. Everything's going good. We're going to give it a few more days, and I'll be back with a final update. Okay, so it has been about 10 days since I cleaned my sensor, and I've had no issues with any sensor fault codes coming up until today. So again, it's been about 10 days, and now all of a sudden it is about 35 degrees outside. It's not even really raining or anything like that right now. And then I get the same thing. Pre-collision assist not available, service advanced track, blind spot system fault, cross traffic system fault. So I keep getting those same sensor fault codes that are related to my wheel speed sensor, according to the dealership. So I don't know what's going on. I tried hooking up a scanner, and I do not see any kind of code that says that my wheel speed sensors are bad. It's just something with the wheel speed sensors is triggering these fault codes. Okay, so we went ahead and we cleaned the front wheel speed sensors, and I did not have any fault codes show up on my dash for almost 10 days. And then some fault codes came back. So that tells me that maybe those fault codes were not 100% coming from the wheel speed sensors. There's probably another reason why. And I think I know what the problem is, but we're going to do that in a separate video, so stay tuned for that. But your fault codes might be related to your wheel speed sensors, and hopefully this video today gives you a little introduction on how to clean them if needed. So I hope this video helps some of you out. But do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button and like this video. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments section, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And also do me a favor, subscribe to the channel because it definitely helps me out, and I greatly appreciate it. So that's it. I just want to say thank you again to each and every one of you. Thank you. I truly appreciate all of your support. I couldn't be doing this without you. But as always, see you in the next video.